Prime Minister, did you get a chance to arrange a call with President Trump?
We will need to ensure that Canada can succeed in a drastically different world. The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
The 2025 federal election is underway, and according to public opinion polls, the #1 issue on many voters' minds is U.S. President Donald Trump, what his tariff threats will mean for the Canadian economy and the future of our country, and which leader can best deal with this curveball. Well, let's be clear. This is the #1 issue on the minds of left-wing Canadians, and specifically the baby boomer generation and those aged 60 years and older. Take a look at this chart, courtesy of Kirk Lubomov on X. It tells it all. For Canadians over 60 years old, 50% of them say that Trump is the top issue in this election. All of the other age demographics all say that the cost of living is still their top election issue. But on the issue of who can best deal with President Trump, Canadians who think that that is the top election issue also say that they think that Mark Carney is the man best suited for the job. Now, I want to speak directly to those Canadians. Mark Carney is only pretending to be tough on Trump. He's only pretending to put Canada first. This is a classic bait and switch. And now we have evidence that this is the case. Take a look at this article, dated Wednesday, March 26th, written by Ian Bremmer and published by G0 Media. The headline says, "The End of the Transatlantic Relationship as We Know It." Now allow me to read from this article. It says, Donald Trump's second term is having considerably more impact on the global stage than his first. It goes on, it says later in the article, America's largest trading partners, Mexico and Canada, are facing more significant trade pressures from the Trump administration, but the imbalance of power is such that they have no credible strategy to push back. Everyone understands they'll have to accept Trump's terms eventually. The only question is whether capitulation comes before or after a costly fight. Well, isn't that interesting? He basically says that Canada will lose no matter what, and we have no credible strategy to push back. Now, allow me to continue. He talks a little bit about Mexico and then he goes back to Canada. So he says, by contrast, Canadian leaders have a political incentive to put up a bigger fight because Trump's threats towards Canada's economy and sovereignty have sharply inflamed nationalist sentiment north of the border in the run-up to the April 28th elections. Now, here is the key part right here. It says, however, I expect Ottawa will quietly fold after the vote to ensure that ongoing relations with the U.S. remain functional. Canada will quietly fold, he says. So Ian Bremmer says that Canadian leaders are faking it, that they're only pretending to put up a fight against President Trump, and that they will quietly fold to the Americans after the election campaign. Okay, so what does this all have to do with Liberal leader Mark Carney? Well, everything. The author Ian Bremmer runs the Eurasia Group. He's the president and the founder of that organization. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because that's where Mark Carney's wife, Diane Fox Carney, well, that's where she works. Ian is her boss. Who else works at the Eurasia Group with Ian? None other than Gerald Butts, the hard left environmentalist, Justin Trudeau's best friend, policy architect, and principal secretary. Trudeau threw Butts under the bus to take the blame for the SNC-Lavalin scandal, where they pressured Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to cut a sweetheart deal with a large Liberal donor. Well, once Butts was pushed out of government, he hopped over to join Bremmer as the vice chairman of the Eurasia Group. Liberal insider Warren Kinsella spilled the beans on social media that Gerald Butts was now back in politics and working for Mark Carney. Here is what Warren Kinsella wrote back on January 12th. He said, Mark Carney is the Team Trudeau candidate. His campaign is being run by Gerald Butts, Katie Telford, et al., the ones who had to resign due to scandal or who had been implicated in multiple scandals, the ones who reduced the Liberal Party down to 16%. Carney equals Trudeau. Well, the Globe and Mail also recently confirmed this claim and reported that Gerald Butts is indeed advising Mark Carney on the campaign trail. This is the way that they describe Gerald Butts. They write, Eurasia Group Vice Chair Gerald Butts, Mr. Trudeau's principal secretary from 2015 to 2019, who has been offering advice to Mr. Carney. What a nice way of putting it. And the connections with the Eurasia Group don't end there. Former CBC journalist turned Liberal Party candidate Evan Solomon. Isn't it cute how that works, the revolving door between the CBC and the Liberal Party? Well, Evan Solomon is also part of this story. Solomon, as it turns out, got fired as a journalist several years ago over ethical issues surrounding high-priced fine art deals that he was facilitating through his journalism. It turned out that one of the wealthy buyers that Solomon was coordinating art sales with, while also pretending to interview them through his journalism, was none other than Mark Carney. Check out this headline in the UK Guardian. It says, Canadian journalist sacked in scandal involving art sale to Mark Carney. Bank of England governor was interviewed on CBC, the national broadcaster, by Evan Solomon, who brokered deals and took secret commissions, says reports. Well, the disgraced former journalist picked up a cushy job with, you guessed it, the Eurasia Group. According to his bio, he is a member of the Eurasia Group's management committee, and he's also the publisher of G0 Media, the very publication that we're talking about, where Ian Bremmer admitted the plan for Canada to fold to President Trump right after the election. Now, to be fair, Ian Bremmer is an American political scientist and businessman focused on global political risk. He's not a Canadian, and he's not really a Liberal insider because he's not part of the Canadian Liberal Party, but he is surrounded by the creme de la creme of Liberal insiders in Canada, including the Prime Minister's wife, the Prime Minister's principal advisor, and one of Mark Carney's star Liberal candidates. Ian Bremmer is also paid to be in the know. That's his job. His job is to predict what will happen politically and then to advise his clients on their risk profile. So he is basing these comments off of a deep knowledge and understanding of what the Liberal campaign is presumably thinking and saying behind closed doors. Now, he wrote this to a US audience, probably not thinking very much about the impact it would have on Canada. But I think it's a game changer. They said the quiet part out loud. Mark Carney is only pretending to put up a fight with Donald Trump. He's only pretending to put Canada first. The entire Elbows Up campaign is just a show. It's a bait and switch, and as soon as the election is over, his plan is to fold to President Trump's demands. Please share this video so that more Canadians will see the truth. Thank you so much. I'm Candice Malcolm for Juno News. Thank you, and God bless.